Hello, FDU class. We are going to review chapter 4 and 5. Just put this into full screen. And here we go. As I said, today we are going to review chapters 4 and 5, and at the end of the presentation I will go over what you need to do for next week. So chapter 4 in Fullen. First, he's going to discuss the causes and processes of initiating change. As you can see, two of the highlights from this chapter are innovation-focused change, which deals with the factors associated with success. So this is something that may have happened previously. Then there is capacity-building focus and how well people develop capacity. And that's really more of the crux of the chapter, and it's what I'd like you to take away from that. Within the change process, Fullen talks about 3 phases. Phase 1 being deciding to change. Phase 2, the implementation of change. And he discusses that typically takes between 2 to 3 years for the implementation. And on a larger scale, obviously, it would take longer. And then phase 3 is the continuation or the institutionalization. So what that is basically is the new normal. The change is worked, it's in place, and that is what you are performing basically on your daily basis. So what factors affect change? This is a pretty good graphic representation of what Fullen is describing factors affecting change. This can be found on page 70 in my book, depending on which Fullen you've purchased. So you can see he has 8 factors here. The quality of the innovation, the access to it, how many people have access, who doesn't, the advocacy from central administration. So is this something that is coming from the top down? Teacher advocacy, are teachers buying into this change? We talked in our last class about external changes, community pressure and support. If the teachers don't want, if the parents don't want this in the community, it's more difficult for it to be in place. Federal policies are always going to affect change. You may think something's good on your level at the school level, but if it negates federal law and you really can't get the support, it's going to be difficult to implement the change. And then, of course, problem solving and bureaucratic orientations. So as you read the chapter, these are the things you're going to look at. He goes into these in detail. So when you're reading through it, really think about something that has been changed in your school or classroom and see if how all of these factors played a role in that change. The next piece of the chapter that I wanted to highlight was actually a good example, and it was similar to something that we implemented in Little Ag, which was the standard-based grading, and this was also standard-based grading that they use as an example in the book. So he goes into the critical elements of the model of change and how it worked well. He talked about standards and targets, so it wasn't something that was just pulled out of the air. It was something that they could base on data. Monitoring and assessment. So how do we know it's working? Are the students being monitored? Are they being assessed to say, yes, it's working, no, it's not? Classroom programs. Are the programs aligned with the standard-based grading? PLCs are professional learning teams talking about it, problem solving, buying into it. Intervention and special assistance. One of the things that I definitely learned from the process in Little Egg is different people need different assistance. Not everyone is going to make it work the same because it's not as easy for everybody. Home and school and community partnerships. This has to be buy-in from everyone. One of the big obstacles that we had to go through was the school and home partnership because a lot of the parents didn't understand it. We heard things like, this isn't the report card that I'm used to. Why can't you go back to the old one? It was fine when I was in school and I got A's, B's, and so forth. And of course, the umbrella that I feel makes all of this work or not work is leadership and coordination. So I put that at the bottom. And as you read through this chapter, I want you to really try to understand why that program worked well. One of the things that Fullen says in the chapter that I think is a highlight is that all of the studies that worked well show the chief district administrator and central district staff are extremely important source of advocacy, support, and initiation of new programs. So if anyone, a principal, a teacher, came up with an idea, it's not going to work well unless you get the support from the leader of the district or the leadership of the district. So that's something that I want you to keep in your mind as you go through this course, and of course all of the coursework that you're going to do in this program. So we go on to chapter 5 and what affects change. And I liked this graphic representation. You can see in my book, I had read through this chapter years ago, and the one thing I highlighted and I still feel is very significant on this graph is clarity. As you read through the chapter, I want you to grasp why clarity is so important. My interpretation is what is clear to me and what I understand is not going to be clear to everyone. And at the bottom you can see I put obtaining a shared meaning. That is very, very difficult to do and can take years. All of the factors on this graph are important. My personal experience with this is clarity is so important because not everyone understands what you're trying to get accomplished. So as you read through this chapter, make notes. We talked a lot about external factors during last class. See if there's something that we didn't discuss that you're now reading about. And of course, this will be part of your discussion post. So what is due? This week, you're only going to be working on your principal interview. We've come up with a list of questions. You're welcome to use those. You're welcome to change them. So you're going to do your interview if you haven't yet, and you're going to start working on that project. For next class, you're going to read Fullen, chapter 6. You're going to read Reeves, chapter 4, and page 57 to 59. This at the bottom here, if you can cut and paste this into your browser, it's a funny 50-second little clip on effective communication. So if you can, watch that, and I will not see you this Wednesday because I will be at Rowan at 4 o'clock. So think of me and send good wishes if you can. If you have any questions about anything, please just email me, text me, call me. The class is going very well. I'm very excited about it. Everyone's doing a wonderful job, and I'm looking forward to meeting with you next class.